I think that at its root, fear of surrender is unbelief that God himself is better than whatever it is he's asking us to give up, whether that's our image or our sense of control or the story we have pictured for our lives. I think that surrender asks this vital question. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about surrender. So surrender, I feel, is one of those words in the Christian life that can be a little bit of a scary word because it's like, what might God ask me to give up? And what if he's asking me to live a story for my life that is completely different than the life I imagined? And am I truly willing to surrender the pen and allow him to write that story? And so for today's video, I want to take a look at what living a life surrendered to Christ actually looks like. And to do that, we're going to be looking at an example given to us in scripture. And my hope is that it can really encourage us. And because it's Christmas time, the example we're going to be looking at is Mary, the mother of Jesus. And so we're going to read a little part of her story and truly understand how she was living a surrendered life and what we can learn from it. And so before we get into that, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. That's a huge way that you can help to support my channel. And then give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful or encouraging. So we're going to be doing a little Luke chapter 1 Bible study, and this is the part of the story where the angel tells Mary that she is going to give birth to a son who is of course Jesus. And so reading in Luke chapter 1 verses 30 through 31, it says, "And the angel said to her, 'Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus.'" So Mary responds by asking some questions about the logistics of how this was all going to happen because she was a virgin. So fair question. But after that, her almost immediate response is to say, "Yes, Lord." So in verse 38, here's how she responds. "And Mary said, 'Behold, I am the servant of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word.'" And I think if you know the story here, it's really easy to sort of just read past that and not think too much of it because we know this is how Mary responds. But let's take a minute to understand a little bit the gravity of this. And I know for me, as I was reading through it, there are two main things that stood out to me. The first thing is this: those who were close to Mary, sure, those people would have known Mary's story. She might have told them about this encounter with the angel, and if she was lucky, they might have believed her. But that's just those close to her. Those who didn't really know Mary very well, who were observing Mary from afar, many of those people probably would have made assumptions, no doubt even judgments. And Mary, hers would have been seen as a shameful position because at this time she was engaged to Joseph, but now here she was going to be pregnant with child. And so the assumption could have been here that either Joseph and her got to know each other before the wedding or that she got to know another man. And so again, this would have been a shameful position. And one commentary I read said it even would have made her liable to stoning in those days. So not only were people going to have their opinions about her, their assumptions, their judgments, those whispers going on behind her back, but it could also quite literally leave her liable to being stoned to death. And so her saying, "Yes, Lord, let it be to me according to your word," it was not a small thing. There was a lot at stake here. Again, there was a lot of gravity. Yet Mary was willing to sacrifice her image to accept the role that God had asked her to play. She was willing to be misunderstood and mocked in order to be obedient to God. The second thing that struck me about this passage is that I doubt this is how Mary imagined her marriage starting off or what she always pictured starting a family would look like. And you have to wonder, did she worry whether or not Joseph would believe her? And I think that she must have, because we know from Matthew 1:19, which is another account of this story, that before the angel appeared to Joseph, it says that he had resolved quietly in his heart to divorce her. So his assumption was much like what the assumptions of other people could have been, is that she slept with another man and was then pregnant by this other man. And so this could have not at all been what Mary imagined her marriage, newlywed life starting off like. And even when Joseph was then told this same thing by the angel and understood what was going on, you have to wonder, did she feel sad that now her union with him would get put off because she was going to be pregnant for 9 months and not have anything happen with Joseph until after Jesus was born? And so I imagine all of these things were probably quite different than what she imagined. And just knowing what that's like when you picture things going a certain way and they don't at all turn out that way, I have to imagine that that made her at some point a little bit sad. Yet once again, we see that she submits. And so reading through Mary's story has me wrestling with this aspect of surrender. Am I willing to lay down the story I want and the way that I want to be seen by others in order to play the role in God's story that He has purposed for me? I think it's pretty likely that Mary didn't live the life she always imagined. She had to lay that down, but in her humble willingness to submit herself to the will of God, He gave her something far better in its place. Of literally all the women in history, He chose her to bear the literal greatest gift in all of history, and that is Jesus. I think that at its root, fear of surrender is unbelief that God Himself is better than whatever it is He's asking us to give up, whether that's our image or our sense of control or the story we have pictured for our lives. I think that surrender asks this vital question: do we truly want Him more than anything because we believe that He is better than everything? For Mary, we see that the role God had for her wasn't without sacrifice, yet what God asked her to give up paled in comparison with what He had for her instead. And I believe the same God can be trusted with the stories He is writing for you and me. That's a little encouragement on what a life surrendered to Christ looks like. I hope you found this video helpful or encouraging. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And I would love to hear from you down in the comments. Is there a particular passage you or your family always read during Christmas time to really just remember the true Christmas story? For us, it is Luke chapter 2, which tells the story of Jesus' birth right after this whole encounter we just studied in Luke chapter 1. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.